1. Background. I went to a Catholic school that had the traditional uniform every guy dreams about, for some reason. White shirt, plaid skirt. Our uniform rules were strict about everything: shoe color, sock color, jewelry, etc. And in those rules it was clear that the girls could wear tights under their skirts, but nothing else was permitted. No leggings, no sweatpants. Yoga pants weren't a thing back then, but they'd have been out of the question too. Your choices were bare legs, pantyhose, or tights. So when winter rolled around, we were cold. Like all the time. The school was a big old marble and limestone monstrosity, so it was drafty and chilly, and we were just cold. To this day, I'm still always cold when I shouldn't be, and I wonder if years of being too cold just set in somehow. Anyhow, onto the story. Guess what else is cold in winter? Outdoor recess. What sadistic evil jerk of a man thought it was a good idea to force children to play outside in the cold, without protective layers, is beyond me. But that was the school policy. The boys got pants and blazers, so they were always warm enough, though they might catch a chill. And yes, we could take our jackets, but imagine being outside in a winter coat and a knee-length skirt. The coat was only helping so much. While the boys played, we girls would huddle next to sewer grates and storm drains in the area, trying to stay warm by the steam. Or if a delivery truck was on campus, we'd lean against the engine to leach some of the heat. I don't know how the faculty could watch this and just not care, but they never did. We did have indoor recess, but only if there was precipitation. And I don't mean expected bad weather, I mean there had to be something actively falling from the sky when they flung the doors open. If it just finished snowing 2 inches before we went out, too bad. If it started raining 5 minutes after it started, too bad. Then we got to 5th grade, and they wanted to teach us responsibility. This meant not just grades affected when we missed homework, but punishment as well. I wasn't aware of the new rules until I missed my first homework assignment. I don't remember why I didn't do it, just that it was an honest mistake. Maybe I left the book I needed at school. Maybe I forgot we had an assignment. I don't know. But that first case was totally accidental, so I come to class and don't have my homework. The teacher tells me to see her after class. Okay. She tells me per the class contract I signed at the beginning of the year, since I didn't do my assignment, I have to stay late and eat lunch when everyone else has already gone out to recess, thereby missing recess. I was bummed, but oh well, that's what I get for screwing up. But then I served my punishment, and it was great. Everyone was done eating, so there was no line in the cafeteria. The lunch ladies were just packing up and kinda felt bad for me, so a few of them asked if I wanted extra of anything. I found a seat in the entirely empty cafeteria and realized it was nice to eat in silence instead of the cacophony of hundreds of other students. Still, lunch and recess were our only real chance to socialize all day, and I wanted to catch friends I didn't have any morning recess with, so I asked the teacher in charge of lunch detention if I could go outside since technically the punishment was late lunch, not missing recess per the rulebook. She declined and said that the late lunch was a means to take away recess as a punishment, so I had to stay in the whole time. Okay, I get it. I'm the one who screwed up. And that was that, or so I thought. I spent the next couple months being a diligent student and turning in my assignments. But then the weather began to turn cold. Our recess conversations began to tilt to the same topic they did every year. Who had found a new source for thicker tights than we had worn last year? We had gotten quite creative, and though we hated the look, most of us had a giant stash of cable knit tights. Think of a knit sweater on your legs. The problem with knitted wear is the holes, though. So we looked warm, we still froze. Then one day I missed another assignment, and the same punishment ensued, and I had an idea. If I just didn't do my homework anymore, I'd get lunch detention every day, and I wouldn't have to go outside in the cold. I'm a genius. So I stopped doing my homework in my class, with the nicest teacher. I'm not entirely stupid, but I was in 5th grade, so not smarter than the adults around me yet. After like 3 days, the teacher pulls me aside and says if I don't have my homework tomorrow, she's calling my mom, Crap. Next day I have my homework for that class, but I skip another, and that gives me my idea. The rules say that if I miss my homework in any class, I get lunch detention that day. Unless it's already after lunch, and then the detention applies to the next day. So if I'm careful about which classes I skip the work in, I can stagger my missed assignments enough that my teachers will just think I'm flaky, but not doing this on purpose. So that's what I do. Some days I miss a morning assignment, so I get detention that lunch. Other days I'll miss both a morning and afternoon assignment, so that covers lunch that day and the next. 4 classes in the morning, 4 afternoon classes. I could stagger and randomize just enough. I kept this up for about a month or so, when the teachers must have started comparing notes, or the lunch detention crew began to wonder why I was always in trouble. I wasn't sure what flagged the system, but Mom got called. Why isn't Voodoo Daughter doing her homework? Is something going on at home that we should know about? Is she under any stress we haven't been informed of? Is she struggling with any subjects? Remember posh private school? They wanted to be seen as caring, just not about us freezing to death. So Mom sits me down. Why aren't you doing your homework? And I explained to her about being cold, about how the punishment of a quiet, late solitary lunch with a good book in the warm cafeteria is way better than a loud lunch followed by a cold recess that I never really got warm from for the rest of the day. I explained to her my system and that I was still getting good grades on my tests. I understood the subjects and I wasn't skipping things I needed to work on. But I didn't see how there was a downside. I was doing less work. By maintaining my grades, I got to stay warm. I, an introvert, got to eat in a quiet space for my meal, and the school was unwilling to offer any alternatives. Gotta give Mom credit, not only did she admit that I made complete sense, she told me she was proud of me. They had created the system and their rules. I disagreed with them, found a way to live within their system and get everything I wanted. Here I was, 10 years old, and I was navigating bureaucracy better than most adults. She called the school and insisted on an in-person meeting with my principal and my homeroom teacher. She basically laid it all out. My daughter says that she and her friends were reprimanded and made to take off their clothes in front of the class when they tried to wear leggings and sweatpants outside to recess. Is this correct? I thought we were here to discuss homework issues. We'll get to that. Apparently when the girls wear anything but socks, pantyhose, or tights, even outside during recess, they are reprimanded, and if they then try to wear them indoors during class, they are made to take them off right there in the classroom. Is that correct? Well, yes. So I just want to get this on record. My daughter was willing to sit in this cold building all day in your dress code, and only violated it when she was outside in the freezing winter temperatures. And you decided that her health wasn't as important as your dress code. Well, they're outside, you see. Anyone driving by can see the schoolyard, and to have all the kids out there wearing whatever, like all their bright, colorful, puffy winter jackets they're already wearing on top. It's our policy to teach these ladies to look like ladies, to prepare them for adulthood. So you refuse to change your dress code policy about what the girls can wear outside on their legs? Yes, I'm sorry, that won't be changing. Then my daughter won't be doing her homework. Cue shocked looks. She doesn't want to go outside, but if she does her homework and tries to stay in, you tell her no. When she goes outside, you won't let her wear warm clothes. So she stopped doing her homework because it's the only way she can find that you'll allow her to stay warm. I fully support her system. Mom then explained the system to them, and how if they weren't willing to change the rules, I was going to continue to abide by their rules, and there was nothing they could do about it. I wasn't failing any classes, I wasn't hurting anyone or disrupting other students. I was just enjoying something that was meant to be a deterrent, and they had no idea how to handle it. She told them that she couldn't think of one good reason I should comply and do my homework. If it was getting me nothing but benefits and zero drawbacks, then what reason did I have to keep up with my homework? The principal was stunned. You mean that right here in my office you're giving your daughter permission to not do her homework? My mom turned to me and said, if you keep up your grades, and you let me review your system and I approve of how often you're missing each class, You have my blessing to skip homework, just enough to stay indoors for recess. No abusing the system. It's a stupid rule, and I'm proud of you for finding a solution." She looked back at the principal. "Does that answer your question?" The principal looked back, stunned, but said nothing, eventually nodding and letting us go. After all, what could they really do about it? That's kind of it for the main story, but there's more for those who like a good long read. I kept up my routine for another few days, and that's when one of the lunch monitor teachers came over and told me if I could eat a little faster, she'd let me run out and play with the other kids. I thought that was odd, but told her, "No thanks, I actually prefer it in here to out there." She looked bummed, but didn't say anything. Then, like 2 minutes later, she chimed in again, and I knew who had ratted me out. "Well, you see, hun, if you were in here on detention every day, I have to be in here with you to make sure you're not misbehaving. And that means I don't get to go outside with the other teachers and chat. Every day, one of us has to stay in here with you and miss out on the time of day we all get to socialize. So I'll make you a deal. If you eat quickly and hurry out there, you can still get a few minutes of recess, and I can chat with the other teachers. Ha!" So that's what got me pinched. Now I wasn't just annoyed, I was pissed. They called my mom and got me a conference with the principal, all so they could have their lunchtime gossip session. I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You can go and play with your friends when you change the dress code or the weather gets warmer." Just cold, emotionless. To this day I get shivers thinking about the way I delivered that line to her. She backed away and didn't bring it up again. When I told my genius mom about the incident that evening, she laughed and suggested I explain my system to the other girls I knew, who also hated being cold. I didn't understand the gleam in her eye at the time, I was only 10 after all. But I did tell my girlfriends what was up, as I had been keeping it a secret to stay out of trouble. But now that my mom and the school knew, why hide it from my friends? So I told all the girls I usually bitched with about why I kept missing homework and staying in for recess. Before I knew it, we had a small indoor recess group. All of us rotating through skipping homework just enough to keep us inside every day. This went on all winter until the weather warmed up and we were happy to go outside again. The next year, when things got cold again, I was pulled aside and asked if I thought an indoor recess option might suit some students, and that if we could keep the volume down, we were welcome to stay in the cafeteria after lunch while others went outside. "Oh, you're still here? Oh, okay, one last bit." The second year was much the same, only we didn't have to skip homework. We were just allowed to stay inside if we wanted to. On warm days, no one did, but on cold days, all the girls would stay inside and the boys would be outside, yay for blazers and pants. We were a gender-separated school, so the only time the hormonal boys even got to see the girls was recess. It wasn't long before they were complaining that the girls never come outside for recess, but they didn't always want to be inside, and it was stupid that the dress code kept the girls who liked outdoor stuff inside. They'd rather be warm. By the time we reached 7th grade, they reworked the entire uniform. We had summer and winter uniforms. The girls could wear pants and button-down shirts in winter months, and they even designed us school sweaters so we could stay warm. And that is the story of how my little 10-year-old self changed the entire uniform code at a 100-year-old private school. Two, we had a customer in a very old hotel with very old hardware, phone system, etc. It was classy, clean, the building was well taken care of. But the owners didn't think technology needed to be upgraded. We installed software knowing their hardware was nearing the end of its life. The owners knew this too, but they just wanted us to make it happen. Everything ran poorly, of course, and was very unreliable. One constant problem was that the phone system would stop sending call data to be imported and charged to the guests. The problem was simple. The phone system just needed a reboot. Every time we told them this, the general manager would rant and tell us how crappy our service is, what a waste of money it is. and that we obviously aren't looking into the problem because we always tell them the same thing. Also, rebooting the ancient Hitachi phone system always fixed the problem. So one day after the GM goes on a particularly nasty rant with one of our technicians, she fires off a long and detailed email with an accounting of every time we told her that the problem was the phone system and refused to help her. She sends it to management, the CEO, and the owners of her own company. In the conclusion of her email, she states that if we ever again tell her that the phone system is the reason for the issue with the phone system, she will cancel the support contract and look for another software vendor. Within a couple of weeks, we get another call from her about the phone system not exporting call data. Before we respond with the solution, I remind everyone she has demanded that we not tell her it's the phone system, so we comply. Every time she calls about this issue, we give her a canned response stating that we are unable to detect any problems on our side, and that she should contact a local IT professional to diagnose the problem. This goes on for months until we get an angry email from one of the hotel owners. This was before everyone had a cell phone, and they were likely missing out on thousands of dollars a month in phone revenue. The owner is furious with us and demands that we offer solutions immediately or he'll seek legal advice. I decide I'll respond. I apologize for the trouble he's experiencing and let him know that we're eager to help him out, but I've been forbidden to mention the cause of the issue by the general manager. I attached the previous nasty email from her, which he also got but probably didn't bother to read, and a copy of every support ticket related to this issue, with the final note always being, "Customer states that rebooting the phone system has resolved this issue." Dozens of these tickets were included. The next day, the owner responds with a pretty sincere apology. Among other things, he says he tried rebooting the phone system and it worked, and that he'll speak with the general manager about it. We never heard from that general manager again. I have no idea if she got fired, but she cost them thousands of dollars. 3. I work in a field that is dominated by men. In fact, in my office of 30-ish people, only 3 of us are female. My direct boss, one of our QA reps, and myself. My job is a mix of technical support and customer service in a niche industry, and I have worked at my company for nearly 15 years doing the same job. Small company, and not a lot of room to move, as we tend to stick around. We deal with clients worldwide, and my department consists of 6 people. Generally, we have 2 to 3 on the phones at any given time, 1 on chat, and the other 2 working on different queues. At least 2 to 3 times a week, I am mistaken by clients as the secretary, and asked to be transferred to tech support. My standard response is, "I am part of tech support. What can I help you with today?" And they are happy to work with me. Occasionally, maybe once every couple of years, someone will tell me they want to talk to a male or more senior rep. My boss is fine with me accommodating these requests as long as we don't have a queue. On this particular day, we had me and our newest team member who had been with the company maybe a year at this point. He's now been with the company over 5 years. 2 of our team members had the day off, and it was later in the day, so the third phone person had finished their shift and gone home. It was busy, and we had a bit of a queue, and the new guy had a pretty difficult issue that he had been on the call for about 30 minutes. It was also when our management had their off-site, so we literally had no management in the office. I answer a call. "Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?"
Can you transfer me to support?
"I am in support. How can I help you today?"
Transfer me to a man. Women don't work in support.
"I'm sorry, sir. All the other representatives are on calls right now. How can I assist you today?" Client hangs up. I take the next 2 calls with no issue. The third call is the same caller. "Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?"
Can you transfer me to support?
"I am in support." The client hangs up before I can offer to assist him again. I take another 2 calls, all meanwhile helping the new guy where I can, as he's now about an hour on the call. Next call. Yep, it's the same guy. "Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?"
Can you transfer me to support?
"I am in support. How can I help you today?"
Transfer me to a man. Women don't work in support.
I'm sorry, sir. All our other representatives are on calls right now.
I'm not working with a woman. I want your manager.
I'm sorry, sir. The manager is not in her office at this time.
No, I want a male manager.
I'm sorry. All the male managers are away from their desks in a meeting at this time. I can request that one call you back when they are available. The client hangs up. At this point, the queue is clear, and I continue to help the new guy with his issue. 5 minutes later, I get a call. It's the same guy. Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?
You transfer me to company support.
I'm in support. How can I help you today? Client hangs up. Immediately, he calls back and I answer again. We have caller ID, so I can see it's the same guy. Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number? He hangs up. This repeats about 6 times before I think he finally gave up. The new guy and I are close to fixing his client's issue. Maybe 10 minutes have passed since the guy stopped calling, when he calls back. Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?
Is there mail available yet?
The new guy fixes the issue and hangs up, offers to take the call. Yes. One moment while I transfer you to another rep.
Finally.
I transfer the call and the new guy answers. The client's issue is rather difficult, and after 5 minutes he asks for a more senior rep. As the new guy doesn't know what he's doing, client's words, not mine. The new guy looks at me and mouths, "He wants a senior rep." To which I nod, and he transfers the call back to me. Thank you for calling company support. This is OP. Can I get your name or account number?
I asked for a senior rep, not a female.
Sir, I am the senior rep available right now. I've been with the company for over 10 years. Obviously, I know what I'm doing, or I wouldn't still work here. The client reluctantly allows me to assist him, and it took me less than 15 minutes to get him going again, as it was an issue we knew about with the version released when I started. And as the new guy never dealt with the older versions, he was still learning the legacy protocols. To the client's credit, they have never asked me to talk to a male again, and more often than not, ask to talk to the female in support when they call. 4. In the mid-noughts, I worked for a small printing company. Our commercial work was on large lithographic machines, but we still had office printers and a number of staff who knew a lot about them. I don't think a single one of our office printers had been purchased new or even working. The owner just bought old job lots of broken office printers for not a lot of money, and then Frankensteined them into working ones. We didn't often buy printer paper because we just cut leftovers from the factory to suitable sizes for the office. Overall, our office printing costs were extremely low, despite the fact that we printed tens of thousands of pages a year. I was a general office dog's body. Among my duties was fielding calls for the director. He would never take calls from cold callers, and I was allowed to describe myself as whatever job title they wanted to hear to deal with them. An office printing management service had got our number. They were offering a completely managed service where they loaned the machines, supplied the consumables, took care of everything, and you just paid per print. Great for some companies, expensive and unnecessary for us. When they first started ringing, I kept telling them, "Sorry, we aren't interested, please remove us from your list," or "We're a printing company. We don't need managed printing services, please take us off your list." This must have gone on for months, and I was getting annoyed that they wouldn't take us off of the call list, and started spending more time trying to explain to them why it was pointless and a waste of both our time to keep ringing. I explained the information above, but the caller was convinced he could save us money regardless of all that. I guaranteed him that he couldn't, as I doubted we paid more than a penny per page. Naturally, he didn't believe me. As far as he was concerned, I was answering the phone. I was the office junior. No one important answers the phone, who had no idea how much printing actually cost, and just too stubborn or stupid to put him through to someone that mattered, and if he persisted, eventually he'd get through to the right person that would reward him with a juicy contract. This same conversation we had at least once a week for the next month or two. He's desperate to let me set up a meeting. Besides, he says he can take us off the list once he set up a meeting with a decision maker. Right, fine, sure. You can book a meeting for your reps, but I guarantee it will be a complete waste of their time. I scheduled them a meeting with the office manager, me, on a Friday afternoon when I'm the only one in the office, so I won't be too busy and it'll be a diversion. The reps arrive. I show them into the office. They're clearly thinking we spend a lot on printing because we have so many damn printers, and I give a rough idea of how much we get through in the office. They gave me their enthusiastic spiel about all the advantages, focusing on the costs. They want to sit down with the figures and see what they can save us. Do I know what we spend at the moment? What follows is a paraphrased conversation. Not completely sure. I think it's around £100 to £200 a year.
Nah, it'll be a lot more than now with the amount of printing you do. Is that just the paper?
No, that's just ink and toner.
Well, there's the paper too.
To be honest, we mostly cut down leftover paper from the factory, or sometimes suppliers give us a few cases for free.
Okay, right. So what about the initial cost of the machines? If you average it out over a lifetime of prints, rather than considering it as just a capital expenditure, it can make up a significant portion of your printing costs. This photocopier, for example, it's a few years old now, and you're looking at about £12,000 to replace it with a simple spec machine, so with our service, you can avoid that capital expense.
The owner buys them broken and repairs them. Most of the printers only cost a few quid, except the photocopier, which I think cost us £700. As even broken, they are expensive, and it took 3 broken ones to make that one a working one.
Right, so when you need to replace it,
I hazard a guess he'll do exactly the same again.
And the ongoing maintenance costs. Then there's the cost of lost productivity or downtime to consider.
He's trailing off at this point. It's clearly a part of his rehearsed spiel that he can also see downtime isn't an issue when we bizarrely have more printers and computers.
There's absolutely no point in us being here, is there?
No, I'm afraid not. That was repeatedly explained to the guy who set up the meeting. But he said your company won't stop cold calling until we agree to a meeting, so here you are. The reps agree it is a complete waste of time, have a bit of a frustrated laugh about the call center, and say it's not the first time they've been sent to completely pointless meetings, because the call center folks get their commission based on the quantity, not quality, of the meetings they set up. They don't bother giving me their quote. I never heard from the company again. 5. I was working as a warehouse manager for a pharmaceutical and cosmetic company. Our premises were part of a large industrial complex that had been walled off into 3 smaller buildings that had 3 different businesses occupying them. My office was a freestanding building inside the warehouse. It was about the size of a shipping container. My company was in the process of redeveloping the insides of the warehouse. As a result, my office had to go. My immediate boss was the operations manager, and he came to me one morning and told me to demolish my office by the end of the day. Now, we had tools, but only hammers and spanners, etc. Nothing really suited for the task at hand. When I asked how he expected me to do it, he said,
"Just drive a forklift through it."
To this day, I'm not sure if he was joking or being sarcastic or actually meant it, but it had been said in front of 4 witnesses. Like most grown men with the inner workings of a 5-year-old, I love chaos and destruction, so I chose to take advantage of the situation. I would love to say I rammed the office at full speed like the Dukes of Hazzard on meth, but I figured that may be too extreme. What I did was push the walls in slowly before lifting off the roof panels. All was going well. I got called away to another part of the warehouse, and another worker decided to take up where I left off. He started lifting the roof panel off when there was a loud noise, a cross between a bang and a popping cork. This is the point where we realized that one of the pipes for the fire sprinkler system ran through the office roof, and it had been completely ripped out. The pressure in the system caused an initial spray of water before a torrent of water spewed forth at roof height. The water had been in the pipes for at least 20 years, and combined with the dirt in the rafters, it was like it was raining squid ink. It covered the finished goods, the raw materials, the workers, and the equipment. The production line was immediately shut down and everyone was panicking. We had a plumber on site who was unable to stop the flow. It had been flowing for about 5 minutes when we heard the sirens. The fire system had automatically alerted the fire department when the water pressure dropped. Due to the nature of our business, we had on site up to 30,000 liters of pure alcohol and ethanol. So when the firemen came, they prepared for the worst. 3 trucks and about 20 firemen. The firemen go to turn the water off, but the valves are in one of the other warehouses. One that was occupied by a heating company and the other by a Christian food drive. The heating company had knocked off early and the Christian place was occupied sporadically. Firemen have to break down the doors of these businesses until they find and shut off the water. They aren't happy with the situation, and here in Australia, if you're responsible for a false alarm, you get fined potentially thousands of dollars for wasting their time. The damage bill was going to be massive in terms of fines, ruined stock, and materials and lost time. It all happened so fast. Not much has been said, but once the situation was under control, the operations manager was looking for answers. He approached me asking what the hell I'd done. At this point, I informed him that it was not me, as I was elsewhere at the time, and that for the record, he had instructed me to drive a forklift through the building. He turned pale as the reality of his own culpability sank in. End result was that the worker operating the fork at the time was deemed responsible. I think they needed an official scapegoat for insurance claim, but no official record was made, and no punishment handed out. It was all swept under the table and never mentioned again. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to Revenge is Ice Cream, number 60. And thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video. Once again, this batch of stories reminds us that oftentimes the cruelest thing you can do to a person is to give them exactly what they want. I'd like to say thank you very much to everyone who's joined me in chat. I actually should probably give a plug to the Discord. I'll do that in a minute. Okay. I had a bit of a rough weekend, actually. I went to bed Saturday night, well, early Sunday morning, nice and early. Well, nice and early for me. I thought, great, I'll go and I'll get up, then I'll be able to do lots and lots of work on Sunday, and I'll have a nice lazy time the rest of the week, because I'll get done early. Yeah, the old acid reflux of mine had a different idea. So Sunday was basically a wash. Most of Monday was a wash. So I'm now kind of trying to catch up with things. Well, that's the way it goes sometimes. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.